The kids are asleep, adult beverages did pour. Gather round, dear listener, for what new dads have in store. A show to review the gaming year that was had, the good games played by kids, and just a few played by dad. As we march forth together, by plane, train, or rover, know that becoming a dad does not mean game over.
Okay, okay, hold on here. Hold on. For those listening, Trevor did not tell me that he was going to come up with his awesome holiday poem.
Prose.
Like storybook. Now I feel like it needs illustrations to go along with it. This is amazing. That was awesome.
The best part was like you were messaging like, "Can we get started yet?" I'm like, "Not yet." Type.
Okay, wow.
And I'll say like rhyming over is not easy.
It's true. Whoa,
So
good job. I congratulate you. Like that's it. Wrap up the show. It's over.
That is the entire podcast, just 1 minute. Everybody, welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And I'm Jeff, festive Jeff. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
So this is one of 2 special holiday episodes we're doing. The new dads are taking a holiday break, so we'll be gone, but we did want to get a few episodes in the hopper to take along with you through this holiday season. And we will start things coming from a place of gratefulness for those who had been with us. All the dads who have been out there interacting with us on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram, everywhere else. Thank you so much. It means absolutely the world to both of us. We cannot express enough what it means to us for you guys to be along with the journey. For anybody just joining with us, welcome. This is a phenomenal space for fatherhood. Fathers looking to participate with their kids in gaming, healthy, fun, positive type space. Consider a subscription or a review on any of the podcast networks where you might find us. So with that, we get kicked off. And this first episode, one of 2 special holiday episode, is the year that was. We look back at the past year, and from a gaming dad perspective, how did it all look? And Jeff, why don't you kick us off? And in some ways, 2 ways we could talk about this first would be, for your kids, what was some of the themes of this year in gaming?
Yeah, so absolutely. The kids this year were all over the place in terms of gaming. It was no surprise that Roblox still held the top tier of their top 10 list. But I will say that we got into a lot of old school first-person shooters. I think my kids were at that age that they could handle it, and it was fun, and it was something that it was like, hey, okay, let's get into it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think with them, they had a blast playing with good old dad, some old Quake games, Quake 1 and 2, amazing. And even GoldenEye. When GoldenEye launched on Nintendo 64 online, we had a blast playing that. They had a lot of fun making fun of it. I mean, saying these are the graphics dad played with when he was a child.
That's like, oh, you poor dad. Is this what you suffered through when you were young?
Exactly, and then like the no mouse look or anything, like they had to press the buttons to. Yeah, it was a lot, but it was fun. I think they enjoyed it. They keep coming back to, especially the Quake games. So it's something that we had a blast playing. It was a little bit more mature than what they're used to, so it was fun. I think it was a good time. But what about your kids? Where are they at? Where were they at in 2023?
Roblox. This year
Roblox
was the story of Roblox. It's the first time we allowed them into it, and it just completely took over the household. Yeah. There was no looking back. It was the be-all, the end-all. And how it spurred out was kind of fascinating. So the games itself, they would start to do some funny things where in planning the weekend, because, I mean, one of the other themes was a removal of a lot of games in so much of we had attempted. It's like, okay, we'll let you maybe have a bit of, you had a hard day at school and then you went to aftercare and you're running around, then you had swimming. So tell you what, go ahead and have a bit of games. That'll be fun. But it ultimately did not end well. Like their grades kind of suffered. Attitudes were a little bit off. So that's something we actually pulled back. And it's like, no, games are a weekend only thing now. Like we tried it, didn't pan out, away we go. And with Roblox, that just became like the weekend became this entire event. Every week was about the weekend, to the point where they're like writing out lists of like, okay, here's the Roblox games we're going to do.
Oh, wow.
Like first, right? And then maybe just a little bit of Minecraft, and then we'll switch to like another Roblox game. So that was just fascinating. There was some dips into somewhat more complicated games. So there was a few RPGs that my son had started to play with, like Lost Two Souls or something to that effect. There
Nice.
was there's that really great Greek game from Ubisoft, Phoenix.
Oh, right, right. Where you're like the
Yeah,
Greek gods or whatever. Phoenix Rising.
Phoenix
Is that what
Rising,
it
very
is?
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was fascinating to see. That's a game that I found mechanically dense and enjoyable myself, and then my son was just ripping through it to
Yeah.
a surprising degree. So like he was accomplishing everything. So I found that to be notable. It's like, whoa, this is a very big step up. This is not just a simple jump get to the end. Like this is a
Right.
very much a puzzle solving, deep mechanic, difficulty curve game, like a true game in that sense. So I think really this year in our household was the story of Roblox, and then some more complexity had started to enter in, setting us up for the next year.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good cap on the year.
I think so. Now my favorite though with you, if I can cue up your story, was certainly the first midnight launch with your kids.
Yeah, yeah. So this was just one of the highlights of 2023. I took my kids to the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom midnight launch, and it was quite an experience. I think if everybody goes back and listens to the show, there were some ups and downs to it, but like I was telling in the pre-show, we were talking a little bit about it, and we had to get teacher gifts tonight because it's year end and
course.
stuff, and we rolled into the same plaza, and my 13-year-old is like, what was really awesome this year, just totally unprompted, going to that midnight launch, right? So that made me feel really good. Like it was
That's
obviously
so
a good
cool.
highlight. We had brought the laptop with a bunch of movies on it. We just hung out, ate candy in the car all the way up to midnight in our pajamas, right? And then lined up, got the game, but then like went home to bed because it was 1 a.m. That was kind of the down part of like
Ah,
not so much organized, and then we didn't even get to play it, right? Dad
Yeah.
got to play it because Dad needed to experience like something. We got something out of this, right?
you gotta test the waters first. You gotta
Yeah.
make sure it's okay for the kids. You gotta stay up a little bit. That's okay.
Exactly. But they had a blast. They wanted to do it again. They might even look at what other midnight launches are happening. Hopefully they still do them, right? A lot of that is kind of a little bit rare now with
Yeah.
the digital age kind of coming
course.
into full force. So that would be a good one to, look at for this coming year. See what we can do there.
No, absolutely. I love that as they get older, and it's good because you're kind of a bellwether for myself, where I get to see the ups
Yeah.
and downs of your experiences. Hey, I tried this with
Great.
my slightly older kids, didn't work out, and I get to just check a box, like, okay, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But to see you have those experiences as your kids become more of age, where it's like, okay, you're older now, you can handle this. Like,
Yeah.
now, be it like, I'm curious if maybe they'll do. I think you had a bit in the competitive Minecraft scene, like maybe if they did get into like a gaming tournament somewhere, like you could just start to, as yours enter into these older ages where they're able to take on more responsibility and just even more complexity with the games. I think your world opens up a heck of a lot, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, no, it can expand pretty quickly depending on, again, my 13-year-old was really, really big into some, I guess, Minecraft Skyblock or whatever he called it. But it was something that he was legitimately looking at competitions. And it was one of those things where like, whoa, are we at that point? Like, I'm not sure where we are with that, but I could definitely see it happening, especially with, again, they're going into high school. They got a pretty tight friends group. And who knows, maybe high schools now do esports. I have no idea. We'll find out next year.
Do you think they'd set up esports like as a team, so they'd put together an Overwatch team or a Minecraft team competitively, like together, or do you think they'd go solo?
I think they would do it together just because of the way they play. All I hear is them, coordinating and laughing together and stuff. And I think if they took themselves out of that, it's a little bit less fun. I think if you're in there with your friends and a team, then, the highs and lows again, I think that's something that they would kind of chase with the next game. So, again, we're looking to high school and seeing what else is out there. And again, more complex games and where they can Google around themselves on, hey, what else is going on with this game? So we'll see. Maybe I'll see you out there at a competition, Trevor. I don't know. Maybe I'll be live from the from the ground.
It'll ruin this podcast because it'll be my kids' team versus your team. And it's just like we'll be sniping each other. Like everything just goes to pot.
That's right. Right.
Now this is a bit on the spot, so I'll talk about mine first because I have it queued up. But I'm thinking about what game had the most impact, and that's in a sense like what do you have look back on the year and have like the fondest memory as far as gaming with your kid this year. Now for myself, I worry it's a little bit of recency bias, just given like that was somewhat more recent, but Super Mario Wonder. Because the reason it is because it was the three of us. Now, often because of the age split, 8 and 6, it's not. In some ways, it's not far apart, but in other ways, it's pretty far apart as far as the maturity. And we just did not seem to all sync up for one game all the time together. Honorable mention to Rubber Bandits, which still we had a phenomenal time. Oh man, we had so much fun with that. Boomerang Fu, which is always such a huge hit. It remains a huge hit in our house. But Super Mario Wonder, the amount of time they wanted to play it, they wanted to beat it, and consistently it's like, let's all come on, everybody come together, let's play. And then like the hippos would come in and you hit one of the mushrooms, the next thing you know the entire thing blows up and there's like a train of bison flying through. They're on the ground laughing. So between the fact that it brought us all together consistently and they kept trying to drag us in, they beat it, like we all beat it together, and just that uproarious laughter, by far, as far as like the game that was the highlight as the family, like that one for sure on our side reigns supreme. Now, did you have one on your end that kind of shines amongst the others?
Yeah, again, I will say right off the top, it will be Zelda. And it's not just because like, oh, it's popular or whatever. It was the amount that was in the game that my kids could experiment with and have a blast with. So again, you can attach any weapon to anything, and like the environment was all moldable and you could build all these structures within Zelda, which was really cool to them. And then they would show each other and me, look what I built, or look what I got for you, or hey dad, try out that stuff, right? And they were very much involved. Whereas the other games where they'd sit and watch me play, or we'd watch somebody else play. But with this one, they took an active part in it. I'm like, hey, let's see if you can do that, right? Let's see if you can like mount your shield with a spiked barrel and then surf down a rope. Like it was just one of those things that was crazy, and There's no
way. Oh my God, he's doing it!
Nintendo, you're crazy. So we had a blast with that one. I think that one sticks in my mind. And then very close runner-up would be Boomerang Fu, because we always come back to it. It's always our party game. When they bring friends over, they want like me to go in as an added fourth to see how this game works out. And it's just something that's so much fun. And it's just harmless pick up and play stuff. So,
Perfect.
Those like, two for sure.
We'll have to check again next year, because if Boomerang Fu continues to be just like, we'll have to talk to them about a New Dad Gaming tie-in, because we just continually bring it up, but it is just that good.
I think so too. It's some DLC there. We could definitely have something.
Yeah, our faces as fruit or something like that.
It'd be the 10% beer that you're drinking. I don't know.
Oh my goodness, this is. I'm powering through this. Like, episode's gonna get sloppy if we're not careful. Now, moving on to you yourself. So when you think back, it's one of the most fascinating things. It's the reason that we created this podcast. Is that as somebody who enjoys personal time to play video games, like that's one of your hobbies, and it gets taken away in a sense because now you have responsibilities as a parent. It's fascinating to reflect back on years that were. And, we can think back to when we had our infants and we had tiny kids, next to no games, because it's a busy time. There's very little sleep, lots of stress. And then it slowly creeps up. And it just happened that our kids tend to enjoy games. So it's now something we share. But now looking back at this year, like, how would you reflect upon your own gaming dad year in review?
I think this is one of my better years for gaming, just because
there's hope. There's hope. It all gets better.
The amount of options, again, like I talked about with my kids, we could play the games that I kind of wanted to play or I experienced, so they were involved more with the games themselves, as well as my own gaming sessions that were brought on by the Steam Deck that I had so much playtime with, and just allowed me to game whenever I could. because like you said, there's responsibilities and life get in the way. Like, again, even just tonight recording this episode, my son had to pick out high school courses. So it's just like life creeps up.
Yeah.
And kids are kind of variables in that, but those tools are out there. And I think a lot of the stuff like streaming games and stuff will help us through. So yeah, it's definitely on the up. I think upswing for me. So, but what about yourself? Let's see.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
Well, we laughed. We laughed a whole bunch because we looked at my gaming numbers and it was just so abysmal. I think
it was pretty low. It was
kind of sad. The one thing I'd forgotten though was I did play what I feel to be a very enjoyable amount of Diablo 4.
Oh right,
which would not have been captured on any of those kind of stats. So
yeah,
for myself, I think it was like bombastic starts and then like weak petering outs of each. And where I mean by that, remember, dear listeners, when I was playing Elden Ring for a hot minute, for like a month,
for a month, and that was it. Yes,
it was awesome, and I don't. It's the best part. What I'm happy about is I don't have any regrets. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have bought that, or I shouldn't have spent that time. Because there was no great successes where I really had this, like, I defeated this game like I wanted to, and this was good.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, Elden Ring, nowhere close. But the time in it was just, I still look back so fondly. And in fact, because I set up a new streaming setup, which I'll kind of talk about in a second, I'm hoping to get kind of back into it. Right. So you'll recall it was Elden Ring, huge, like this is fantastic and great, and unfortunately it kind of petered out. There was Starfield. Right. Spent a good amount of time in Starfield. And again, positive, happy. I'm like, I had a great time. Nowhere close to beating it, but just didn't really step back into it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we had Diablo 4. I thought, okay, maybe this would be something I can do, and I can like do the seasons. And I tried the first season. And then I petered out. So Elden Ring, and then Starfield, and Diablo 4.
Those spikes and valleys, yeah.
Yeah, I was in the mix for those ones. And especially what's interesting with Starfield and Diablo 4 is like those are like recent titles. They kind of participated. And that's usually one of those things that go by the wayside for gaming dads because the new hotness comes out and you're not going to really have time for it. So you don't know if you want to jump in at all. Yeah. And then lastly, I think with Marvel Snap, that was the game of the year for me in some ways because it fits so perfectly with my card battler style, super dad friendly, and then finding whatever tiny little community we have on Twitch, like a couple folks that come and join me. I find great joy in streaming it on Twitch, even if it's not necessarily to much of an audience. And it's fantastic. So it was a great way to end the year on that particular one. So for myself, it was a lot of bombastic starts petering out. A couple good discoveries, and also, to be fair, a pretty bad year for gaming. Did not game a whole heck of a lot, but I feel encouraged for upcoming years.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to look at it. And with Marvel Snap, it took you a bit to get there too, right? You had a trial and error period.
Oh yeah,
I dropped a bunch of other games, right? But you found it. You found that gem, that hidden. Well, it wasn't really hidden. It was very popular.
a little indie title called Marvel Snap. A little tiny company named Marvel that might just make it.
Yeah, yeah, and I can share some of that where you have the bombastic highs and kind of peters out because I've mentioned on this show like Fallout 4. I'll go into an old style game, be overwhelmed with doing everything, and then kind of like, okay, this is kind of like work now, and I don't want to be in this world anymore. Like, I'm reading every note and going through every like drawer in the post-apocalyptic world. I'm like, okay, I can't do this because otherwise I'm never gonna finish.
Yeah, it is a roller coaster. I think a lot of gaming dads would be able to relate to. But if anything else, what's been curious, and this will play more into the next episode where we're going to talk about the gaming future, and that's largely because by the end of the year, everything I was doing was very much setting up. Looking back at the year I had, it's like, all right, how can I make games more available? Like, how can I kind of have just blanket games around the house in a way so that I can really access it? And where I find myself now is that I've set up Steam Link on all my devices. Like on Black Friday, I got a bunch of new routers to try to like increase like the bandwidth. I have the backbone I'm going to use a lot more for the new year in playing game streaming with the Xbox.
Right.
So just trying to find like, all right, where's and with something like Marvel Snap, it's on tablet. It's like quickly, it's a quick game you can like dip into.
Yeah.
here and there without big commitments. So I think if anything, like the end of the year was, all right, let's set up the future. Let's like this
No,
last
that's
year
a
was a
good way.
disappointment. Let's make sure the next is better.
I'm gonna learn from my mistakes and
That's the
make a
one.
better plan. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Hey, gaming dads, I'll do it for this one. I said we wanted to reach out. We wanted to have kind of a quick little episode here. And once again, we'll swing back around and say thank you to all the listeners who have been with us and all the subscribers. Jeff and I cannot thank you enough. We've been doing this here for 7, coming on 8 years. Passion project, just absolutely adore it. And now to have some folks that we speak with, like messages back and forth, like the numbers going, means the absolute world to us. This is just so much fun. And one of the funnest parts is hearing back and forth. So if you want to reach out, do you have your own stories about the year in review? We'd love to be able to share some of the stories. A particular game that was just gangbusters in your house. Your year. How would you summarize your gaming year? We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to feature your story. So at New Dad Gaming on all the socials. So Twitter, Threads, Instagram, at New Dad Gaming Podcast on Twitch. And otherwise, if you want to reach us at our website, newdadgaming.com. Absolutely would love to hear from you. Any words there, Jeff? And thanks and gratitude and looking back.
Yeah, I'll piggyback and just say it was a fantastic year for myself and you, just doing the podcast and hearing from a lot of people. We've got a lot of listeners now that are interacting with us, which is great, and hearing those stories and taking those back. And it does make you feel a little bit more a part of a group, right? Like part of a community. And so it's good to see that, and good to hear from other people that may be further ahead of me. So I'm not just an example for Trevor all the time. So anybody that wants to, has older kids or something, that I am open for any advice and any stories. So yes, please reach out. And again, thanks to all listeners so far and in the future.
There we are. Hey, everyone. So if you like the podcast, you can find us on all the major podcasting networks. You can look for iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Caster, anywhere where you get your podcast. Just search for New Dad Gaming. We, as mentioned, really appreciate a subscription, a comment, and especially a rating on the show. Helps us cast out to as many gaming dads as possible. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. My name is Trevor, and I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Cheers to the year that was, and stay tuned for our holiday episode discussing the year that will be. Remember, just because you became a dad
Does not mean it's game over.